Whoa. Is this Ghost Recon? Yo, wait.
Samuel Fisher,
Yeah.
the first ever operative for the market.
Whoa. There's a manga? This R6 runs deep. See, this
So
stuff I
Ace
would
was
have
happy
never
to have
known
the
from the
architect,
cinematic.
but
There's too
history
many
was sledged,
recruitments,
and
bro. There's
he knew
like
what she was
50
capable of.
operatives now. Oh my God. What is going on in Rainbow Six Siege lore? Y'all may have seen me reacted to cinematics, operator trailers, stuff like that. I'm hearing all this stuff about Deimos, Nighthaven, but I actually don't know what's going on. So I decided to sit down on stream and react to all of the lore. Shout out to Kudos for compiling the lore into a 2.5-hour video. Go ahead and get you some snacks, some water, sit back, relax. We're gonna jump into this. It is a 2-parter video. So if you're down for a part 2, please go ahead and subscribe or go check me out on Twitch to catch the streams. All right, let's get into it. Rainbow Six Siege explained. The old Rainbow Six, I'll watch that one in my own time. That's some shit I would just like sit and watch in silence.
The year is 2010. Rainbow were in the fallout of a deadly attack which took place in Vegas, spanning over July 2nd and July 3rd. Although successful, this operation would see civilian casualties, as well as Rainbow operatives killed in the field. The integrity of the team as well would come into question, as one of Rainbow's very own operatives, Gabriel Novak, would play a large hand in these attacks. The operation in Vegas would conclude with the death of Gabriel, and the promotion of Bishop to Rainbow 5.
Okay,
this
that's on
incident
Bishop.
comes just a year after one of Rainbow's darkest days involving a nursery bombing in Bratislava. Despite this, the world still needed Rainbow, and under the leadership of Domingo Chavez as Six, they would continue to operate for years to come. That was until 2012, where one of the final nails in the coffin for Rainbow
we're getting straight into it. I
led
like
by
this.
Daniel Bogart, consisting of demolitions operative Gerald Morris and sniper Kure Galanos, would infiltrate a facility at an undisclosed European breakaway state. The team are given clear instructions. Both Bogart and Morris will enter the facility and extract a bomb maker they have intel on, whilst Kure holds down the perimeter, providing a clean exit for the rest of her team. Both Daniel and Gerald would make quick work of the men inside. Both of these operators have been with Rainbow since the very start and are more than equipped to deal with these terrorists. After fighting their way through the facility, they come across the bomb maker. As Daniel begins to prepare the man for extraction, Gerald notes that these are the same explosives used in the nursery bombing 3 years prior. And it is here where something changes in Gerald. He raises his weapon to the man they now have hostage, much to the disagreement of Daniel. Daniel reminds Gerald that their mission is extraction and to put his weapon down. But Gerald is tired of the system. He's tired of Rainbow. He knows that—
Look at this revolver. Who that look like? See, this video is exactly what I needed, because I saw so many of these cinematics, but I had no idea how they were tying together exactly, except this one. I could kind of tell what was happening, but I didn't know about the nursery bombing thing. So I didn't know what made him snap. Now, what I'm excited to see is why he starts doing what he's doing now, because it would make sense to go rogue, but to become worse than Rainbow is a little confusing to me. Like, there has to be a reason why he doesn't think he's worse than Rainbow doing what he's currently doing.
this man will just be used as a chess piece between two countries playing nice, and he executes him on the spot. Bogart now raises his weapon and things begin to get heated.
Or was it more
Gerald
just—
reveals to Daniel that he's fighting for something bigger now, and that the two of them don't matter in the grand scheme of things.
Like, that's what I mean.
As
What
a
is this
reluctant
something bigger
Bogart
that he's
moves his
thinking?
finger to the trigger, his once friend and colleague murders him in cold blood. As the explosives in this facility continue to count down, Kure, who is still watching their exit, loses communication with both men. In fear that something has went wrong, she gives up her post and attempts to enter the facility. As the explosives get closer to their detonation, Gerald is extracted by an unknown group of people, whilst Kure is
Damn, so he was
caught in the
already working
exploding
with some
building.
people there.
Both Daniel and Gerald would be deemed KIA, and Kure would survive the ordeal despite being heavily injured. This mission would be the final strike in Rainbow's record, and the team would be officially decommissioned following 2012.
Wait, so
With
Rainbow
Gerald
Six
Morris
Siege is kind of like some
dead,
Overwatch
and the
type
team's
vibe.
internal standing ruined, the world no longer had Rainbow.
In terms of, you know, building to a comeback. Okay. Now we're talking. Now I understand a little bit. I like the way this is put together too. I can like see see it as I'm hearing it.
For the first time since the beginning of the 21st century, the world was no longer under the protection of the covert unit they didn't even know existed. In the absence of Rainbow, a terrorist group known as the White Masks would begin to increase and grow their operations around the globe. It is known that they are indiscriminate to their victims, disregarding age, religion, gender, and nationality. The true threat of the White Masks would reach a boiling point in 2015, when US politician Aurelia Arnault would petition for the reactivation of Team Rainbow as a response to the growing threat of the White Masks and other terrorist organizations. Their ability to enact terror on a global scale only added more support for Rainbow's reactivation. And after a successful majority vote, the NATO response team was born once again. Now, Rainbow would be reactivated under the supervision of the Global Security Alliance Council. The council, which is known more commonly as the GSAC, will overlook Rainbow's performance and their actions, with Aurelia succeeding Domingo Chavez's role as the new Six. Perhaps as to avoid prior mistakes and shortcomings, the GSAC would not call on previous Rainbow operatives to make up this new roster. Rather, they would call upon 5 different units from around the world, and thanks to the team's military and psychological culture advisor, Harry Pandey, 20 operatives would be successfully screened and selected to join Rainbow. The first of which being the Brits, consisting of 4 operatives by the call signs, the first of which would be successfully screened and selected to join Rainbow. The
Okay,
first
that
of which
explains
being
why they were having like a whole tournament style
consisting
thing.
of 4 operatives by the call signs of Sledge, Thatcher, Smoke, and Mute. Next was the FBI SWAT, consisting of Ash, Thermite, Castle, and Pulse. The French GIGN would have 4 operatives as well: Twitch, Montagne, Doc, and Rook.
Wait, they
4 Russian
each have their own
Spetsnaz
symbols? It's kind of
operators,
fire.
Glaz, Fuse, Kapkan, and Tachanka would join the unit as well. And the final 4 operatives would hail from the German GSG-9, being Blitz, IQ, Jaeger, and Bandit. The 20 operatives would make their way to Hereford Base in the United Kingdom, the home of the British SAS, but also the base of operations for Rainbow ever since the team's inception back in the late 90s by John Clark. They would also be joined by the trusty Rainbow recruits and all of the operational Rainbow staff, including Auspice, a signal officer that will relay and announce information to the team during their missions and training. Rainbow's training at Hereford would begin, and just like the training program the operators before them followed, the team would be pushed to be the best that they can be.
Okay, I was mad confused watching the cinematics when it was like they were doing some like tournament style
the
training.
nature of this threat will require a full strike team. You're being deployed.
Ooh.
One of our most notable institutions of learning is under siege. This is more than just an attack on our soil. This is an attack on our future.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. Wait, I didn't see this cinematic.
We know that all first responders have gone silent. We confirm numerous casualties due to the release of an unidentified biochemical weapon.
Oh, hell no.
Your newly assembled Rainbow team faces a trial by fire against an unknown number of enemy combatants.
What do the White Masks even want? What's their...
You're to be inserted directly into the hot zone. We will have decontamination crews on standby.
Oh my god!
Your orders are to eliminate the threat and rescue any survivors you may find. This is why Rainbow was formed. This is what you all have trained for.
Wait, why haven't I seen this? Is this... Ooh. Why they are farming in the toxins, bro. Umbrella Corps villains, bro.
After the White Masks initiate a chemical attack on US soil at one of the nation's most prestigious universities, Bartlett in Massachusetts, the newly reborn Rainbow is finally deployed. Equipped in hazmat suits,
Wait, so there is a
operatives make their
campaign?
way into the central building of Bartlett. Using their expertise alongside their new teammates, they face off against the terrorists perpetrating this attack. On top of this, there are 2 chemical explosives currently planted inside the building. The operatives have been provided with a defusal kit to seize any further chemical production from these bombs. The White Masks have finally met a force too great for them, and Rainbow would successfully take control of the situation. Although the attack on Bartlett was now over, the White Masks were still out there. The operators would prove their effectiveness on the field, as well as reinforcing Aurelia's decision to reactivate the team. With Bartlett being a successful operation for Rainbow, the team would be given the green light to continue, and the GSAC would provide more funding.
I'm wondering why I haven't seen these cutscenes. I couldn't
With Team
find
Rainbow now back
them.
in full operation, the team's expertise will be called upon numerous times. Operation Black Ice would be the first of these missions, after a luxurious yacht would crash into an iceberg in the Hudson Bay area of northeastern Canada. Rainbow would be deployed to the scene after an unidentified submarine would soon dock near the vessel. This would also be in collaboration with the Canadian forces, with 2 JFT-2 operatives, Buck and Frost, being sent along on this mission. For the very first time
I'm
since
familiar
the
with
team's
Buck.
reactivation, the 2 Canadian operatives would be recruited to Rainbow, further helping establish the team's presence around the world. This mission would immediately be followed by Operation Dustline, where a situation would begin to unfold at a border in the Middle East. Officials would lose control of this checkpoint after being overwhelmed, and chaos would ensue. As to help
Are each of the maps based on specific missions? So like every time a map is released, it's like a mission canonically? If so, that's kind of fire. I guess that would make sense. It's kind of like that with Valorant, for example.
help aid local law enforcement in regaining control of the border, Rainbow would be deployed alongside 2 Navy SEALs stationed in the area to provide their expertise of the region to the team. These Navy SEALs, who go by the call signs of Blackbeard and Valkyrie, would also go on to join the team just like the 2 ops before them as Rainbow continues to expand. Each successful operation means more funding from the GSAC, and Rainbow can continue to establish their presence. Well, their worldwide reach would next continue to South America, as Operation Skull Rain would find the team working with the Brazilian BOPE to help pacify a large-scale conflict that was escalating in the favelas of Rio de Janeiro. This operation would also see 2 BOPE operatives, Kivera and Capitao, join the Rainbow program.
Bro, I feel like
and
Kivera's
officially
one of my
become
favorite
Rainbow
people
operatives.
I've seen in
Rainbow were not slowing
across
down.
the different
It's
cinematics.
clear that the world needed them more than ever, and the growing number of partner nations would help establish this. The team would be deployed to East Asia in Operation Red Crow, where high above the streets of Nagoya, Japan, a Yakuza war would be brewing in the grounds of a gorgeous mansion at the height of a skyscraper.
Why they built a mansion on the skyscraper is crazy.
Conflict, the Japanese SAT would collaborate with Rainbow. They would deploy 2 of their brightest operators, Hibana and Echo, to join Rainbow for this mission, and subsequently to the team. Now, this was a very prosperous time for Rainbow. The increased resources, operators, and worldwide presence was having a global effect. The threat of the White Masks were continuing to diminish, and Rainbow were living up to the expectations that were not only set by the GSAC, but by John Clark over a decade prior. Now that the team have been in operation for a good period of time, they've had chances to get to know each other and see how their gadgets work in the field. And during one of his periods of days off, Glaz would attend a military games, where he would be bested in a marksman competition by none other than Kure Galanos. Kure, who is now no longer able to walk due to the incident in 2012, would go on to conversate with Glaz following the end of this friendly competition. It is here where he would get some mentorship, which he would go on to say is some of the best he's ever received, as well as the recommendation of an upgraded scope that offers a new layer of thermal visual feedback that she was using. Despite this, Kure's focus was no longer that of being a sniper operative. Being restricted to a wheelchair, she was unable to serve in the field.
Turned her into Oracle, from Batman.
Her current focus would see her returning to education, studying mechanical engineering. With her Rainbow days now behind her, the case wouldn't be the same for Glaz, as he'd employ his new scope in Operation Velvet Shell. where alongside the newly
Passing of
recruited
the torch.
Spanish GEO operatives Jackal and Mira, Team Rainbow would be
Oh my God,
deployed
okay.
to the rocky coastline of Ibiza, Spain.
I'm starting to understand why there's so
after
many
the
operators.
seashore would be put at risk. Not only did each
getting hard to keep
operation
up
serve
with.
a purpose in safeguarding the world, the added pressure which Rainbow was applying, with even more operatives joining the team, was continuing their efforts against the White Masks, with each operation having the potential to provide more intel. As Rainbow's internal reputation was continuing to grow, there was also another organization that have been continuing to make a name for themselves in the private sector. This private military company, known as Nighthaven, would constantly be hitting new heights thanks to their groundbreaking tech, skilled agents, and impressive field records. They would catch the attention of notable GSAC members such as Harry Pandey, and he would keep Nighthaven's activities close on his radar. Meanwhile, Rainbow, who were continuing their expansion, would extend an offer to the Polish Grom to recruit one of their members, Ella. Not only does Ella have an impressive record and resume, she is also the daughter of the late Jan Bosak, a respected Grom commander who later became the country's Minister of Internal Affairs.
Okay, this is what I was wondering when I was watching the cinematics, because I was like, it seems like there's two factions, but they weren't at like a full-blown war, but they definitely had some sort of tension. So was that Nighthaven?
Jan would later go on to commit suicide, causing a rift between Ella and her sister. After completion of her training and integration into the team, it wouldn't be long until she is deployed on the field. Operation Blood Orchid would see the team being deployed to Hong Kong, where a major drug ring was operating from an abandoned theme park on the shores of the region. This seemed to be a major player in the production and trafficking of these narcotics, and with the aid of two special duty unit operatives, Li Jin and Ying, they would successfully raid and shut down this operation. Following this mission, Rainbow would recruit another operative from the Polish Grom, this time being Zofia Bosak, the older sister of Ella. Although the two sisters were now fighting together on Rainbow, their upbringing and suicide of their father would still cause a rift.
They were both on Rainbow.
Zofia would be recruited just in time for Operation White Noise, where Rainbow would partner with the South Korean 707th Special Mission Battalion.
Oh my God, there's so many different
operatives from the unit. The first being Vigil, a defector from the north as a kid, who would grow up to be a respected member of the White Tigers, as well as a hacker by the name of Dokkaebi. Unlike Vigil, Dokkaebi wasn't in the consideration list to join Rainbow by her commanders. After facing constant oppression from her higher-ups, she knew that she would never have been considered. But after hearing rumors of this Dark Ops unit during joint training exercises with the British SAS, she knew that this was the opportunity she had been seeking. So she used her expertise and hacked into the system to place her name on the Rainbow consideration list.
What? Okay, wait, so she wasn't even supposed to be there? How do you place your name on? Okay, yeah, that's too much. I mean, at that point, they kind of just have to recruit you.
Although she would be caught for this, with the higher-ups wanting to punish her, Harry would see this as a positive for Rainbow, seeing the true potential of her skills and her capabilities.
She's definitely the character I've seen the most before knowing anything else about Rainbow.
She would remain without consequence, however, cause a lot of bad blood with her higher-ups, with many of them threatening to arrest her if she steps back in Korea. Rainbow would also use a modern communications and observation tower in the middle of the nation's capital, Seoul, as a training facility. Closing this tower off to the public, Rainbow can use this to train the recruits and operatives in scaling large buildings high off the ground, introducing unique vertical training, stuff that they simply can't get from Hereford alone.
Holy plot.
The landscape of terror in the world is forever changing. This is one of the reasons why Rainbow was conceived to begin with, and Aurelia knew this all too well. With the growing threat of biological and chemical attacks propelling special forces to receive training to function under these extreme conditions and handle hazardous materials, Aurelia would greenlight the chemical, biological, radiological, and nuclear threat unit inside of Rainbow. With these operatives being experts at handling level 4 crisis
there are more operatives.
The Rainbow Seaburn unit formalizes a standard in best practices in the event of such attacks. The unit would consist of one of their more recent recruits, Li Jin, as well as two hand-selected operatives. Lion, who comes from the French GIGN, and Finka, hailing from the Spetsnaz. This would be a major milestone in Rainbow's progression, and also the first of many changes that the team were soon to see. As they would continue to expand further, Rainbow would show interest in 2 Italian operatives from the GIS. Fresh off the success of Operation Parabellum, which saw Alibi going undercover in the Vinci Guerra crime family to help gather intel to bring this family down from the inside. This would be escalated when the crime family would learn of this operation through a newspaper leak and would attempt to flee their villa in the Tuscan countryside. Well, this is where a strike team led by Maestro would act off of Alibi's intel and successfully stop the family from escaping. These 2 operatives would fit nicely inside of Rainbow, as another Rainbow unit would be formed. Codenamed Grimsky,
how many units are gonna be by the end of this?
Urban Tactical Response Team, is Rainbow's testbed for operations in dense urban centers. It draws on such expertise as riot officers for mob behavior and intelligence operators for converting local assets and building allied networks. The core operators of this unit have been hand-selected by Rainbow, the first being an American Delta Force operative known as Maverick and a British Metropolitan Police officer known as Clash. But they aren't the only operators in this unit. It also employs the expertise of Kivera, Bandit, Alibi, who recently joined the team, Castle, and Ying. Grimsky trains operators on navigating and surviving in hostile cities or evading and diverting mobs. This would be yet another example on how Rainbow was evolving to the current climate and making sure they are prepared for whatever is in their way.
Jesus Christ, they're recruiting like the X-Men.
During this process of the team's evolution, Rainbow would manage to secure a deal with Jalal El-Fassi, who is the current sitting Qaid of the legendary Fortress training facility located in the Atlas Mountains. Descending from a long line of Qaids, which means commander, he would help bring the reputation of this fortress to new heights. Rainbow would not only secure permission to use the renowned fortress as a training facility, but its stoic leader, Qaid, and one of his previous students, Nomad, would also be recruited to Rainbow. With now one of the most prestigious training facilities at their disposal, Rainbow would finally draw a killing blow to the White Masks. The central chain of the White Masks would be toppled, with Rainbow seizing their bank accounts and leaving what little remaining cells to fend for themselves. Without many more resources, they would retreat into the woodworks. The very reason for Rainbow's reactivation was now completed. The White Masks were no longer deemed a threat to the world, and this achievement wouldn't go without acknowledgement. For her efforts as Six during this time, Aurelia would be offered the position of Secretary of State, a promotion in which she would accept.
Holy promotion!
Begin to leave the long line of Sixes that would oversee Rainbow, she would give her full endorsement to her psychological and military cultural advisor, who has been by her side since the team's reactivation and already has a strong understanding of the unit. Dr. Harry Pandey was now 6, and he had a new vision
got to be
Rainbow.
6. Okay. But do they ever find out what the White Masks want? Because I know terrorism is like a general thing, but there's always a motive for it. You know what I mean? Like, what point are they trying to prove? Do they ever get into that? Or is it just like generic terrorist group must stop? It's like for them to have that many cells and be all over the place, there has to be a binding motive, right? Okay, chapter 1, the White Masks. Interesting. Some of these are already starting to make more sense. Chapter 2, the program. I wonder if this is going to be that whole tournament style thing I was seeing. Now that I know that there's different units and shit, it makes a little more sense.
With the team now under the direction of Harry, he would begin to lay the groundworks for his future vision of the squad. He would send the following statement to Rainbow staff and GSAC members, saying, "You've seen me before. Perhaps in the shadows, observing, watching, recording my thoughts. While Six would take center stage, I was never far behind, whispering my advice as I calculated and planned Rainbow's every step. Now, as I assume the mantle of Six, I can finally set in motion the strategies I have carefully engineered. I know it will take years to unfold, but no matter, I am playing the long game. I will change Rainbow forever. Also, please just call me Harry." The first thing he would do would assign Mira to the head of Rainbow's R&D department. She would now take charge on testing and development of Rainbow's newest gadgets. Already having an understanding and close relationship with the operators, Harry valued the importance of the teamwork and bonds that joined them all together. He would begin to open psychological reports on all the operators, with Dokubi's one highlighting a conflict between her and Thatcher. The methods employed by these two operators caused them to begin bashing heads. Thatcher, who is an older, experienced SAS soldier, understands the value of technology, but he sees it as a crutch. Lean on it too hard and you'll fall. Whereas Dokubi sees it as a valuable tool in gaining control. This would be highlighted during one of their training exercises at Hereford, where Dokubi wanted to hack a camera inside of a room to gain intel, whereas Thatcher, who believed that it was taking too long, chose to disable the camera with an EMP and then sweep the room in a more traditional manner. We would also get to see some of Thatcher's
Loki didn't realize that was him because of the mask
he lives
at the
on,
time.
called the Iron Maggie, as well as his brother. And Harry would make a very important point to Dokubi, explaining to her that Rainbow needs to embrace both the past and the future. That is the strength of this unit, the strength of these operators. Thatcher is no more or less valuable than Dokubi. And this
See, two things. First, during this part of the cinematics, I did thought he was just like a psychologist for the team. I didn't know 6 was a position, but I also just didn't realize he was in that type of position until later when Deimos pulled up on him.
gives us the first glimpse into how Harry is going to manage the team a bit differently to Aurelia. Harry would also begin the planning phase of his program, an initiative in which he sees to decentralize Rainbow from Hereford and establish more bases for a global presence. As well as this, he would purchase an old abandoned Commonwealth Stadium in Greece and begin to convert it into a state-of-the-art facility, allowing for different modular training rooms that can be configured to whatever design they want, as well as the start of a new, unique training system. Meanwhile, at the other side of the world, 2 protection specialists with the Australian SASR mobility platoon, Gridlock and Mozzie, have been assigned a protection detail for a high-value convoy traveling across the sunburnt country. An unscheduled pit stop at a lonely petrol station turns into a standoff when their convoy is unexpectedly pinned down. The 2 SASR operatives would be the first to join Rainbow under Harry's leadership, and Harry would also begin to look at different avenues of recruiting operatives. His next recruitment would be of the Danish Jaeger Corps operative Nook, whose identity is so secret and sensitive to national security that it is held securely at NATO. As well as this, Secret Service agent Colin McKinley, who worked as personal protection detail for President Baldwin, would get an offer to join Rainbow after the president himself would give his full endorsement and commendation. Now, Harry's program was beginning to come together, best dude, and this new direction for Rainbow was being set on its course. Harry would continue with his psychological reports of his operatives, where Mira would open up, reminiscing about her father and talking about her new responsibilities as the R&D leader, and even getting through to some of the more hardened operators like Thatcher, with him transcribing key moments such as him saying, "When I walk away from the fields of battle, it will be my time to put my guns into the ground. There shall I bury them along with my rage." As well as,
all right, bro. Who's he feeling like?
My war will be over. Whatever battles, lost or won, will be behind me. And across the sea, Corsica awaits. There, I will rest.
Yo, why they?
Meanwhile, in the South American country of Bolivia, an undercover officer with the Federal Police of Brazil would be working deep undercover within the Santa Blanca cartel. This officer would have his identity exposed, and his life would now be put at risk. Not long after this incident occurs, Rainbow operative Kavera would go AWOL from the team. Back in Bolivia, a Tier 1 Special Mission Unit of the United States Army, known as the Ghosts, were deep in an operation to bring down this cartel. The Ghosts would intercept a distress signal where they would find a crashed truck surrounded by piles of cash and several dead cartel members. They report this incident to their supervisor, Karen Bowman, who then puts—
Whoa. Is this Ghost Recon? Yo, wait, it actually does connect to Ghost Recon? I was wondering. I was like, I'm pretty sure Tom Clancy stuff intersects, especially now knowing that Sam Fisher is in it. I don't know if every Tom Clancy thing is a part of the same thing, but this is a wait, hold on.
I'm in contact with one report truck bring down this cartel. The Ghost would intercept a distress signal where they would find a crashed truck.
Anyone want some chocolate chip cookies? Shit, I do. That shit would go crazy right now. I can't even lie.
Surrounded by piles of cash and several dead cartel members. They report this incident to their supervisor, Karen Bowman, who then puts them in contact with one of her old friends, Valkyrie. It is here where the Ghosts are informed that one of Rainbow's operatives, Kavera, has gone AWOL, and it is suspected that she is responsible for these cartel members' deaths. Valkyrie requests assistance from the Ghost to help intercept Kavera before it becomes a bigger incident. The Ghost team would then meet up with Twitch, who had been deployed to the area. Through their investigation, Rainbow and the Ghosts would learn that the undercover officer, which was captured, is actually Kavera's brother, Joao. Now that the situation was clear and they understand what Kavera was doing, the Ghosts, alongside Twitch, would intercept Kavera and assist her in rescuing Joao.
I didn't know.
During this mission, the operators would converse with the Ghost lead, Anthony Perryman, where he would mention a classified mission known as Operation Patriot, but the operators don't give him much information on the matter. The team eventually would be led to a chemical institute where Joao was being held. And with the Ghosts and Rainbow working in tandem, they were able to successfully extract.
That's actually cool as hell.
When the group would return to Bowman and Valkyrie, things would get a little bit heated when Joao would refuse questioning from the Ghost supervisor, claiming that he has to go through his officials in the Brazilian Federal Police first. Tension would begin to grow, especially from Kavera, but Anthony would help defuse the situation, and Rainbow would leave with Joao. Back at Rainbow, Harry's program was continuing to grow. He recently recruited a Peruvian operative by the name of Amaru and a Mexican specialist who has close ties to Amaru known as Goyo. But this is when Harry would make one of his biggest decisions. Using the money that was seized from the White Mask's bank account, he, alongside the GSAC, would contract the private military Nighthaven to work alongside Rainbow. Now, Nighthaven is some of the best in the industry. Being founded by the wealthy Jamini Kalimohan Shah, after she was denied entry into the Indian military, Nighthaven would evolve from a private security company.
Seems a little shady though, I can't lie. But I guess Rainbow is technically too.
During the early days of Nighthaven, Callie would meet a woman by the name of Anya Yankovic. Anya, who was fresh out of university where she excelled at robotics engineering, would soon be recruited by Callie and given the lead of Nighthaven's Quantum Concepts and Robotics R&D unit. Callie, striving to make Nighthaven the best and most profitable it can be, would grow her company with the most skilled agents she could find. One of them she would recruit early on would be a specialist from the Kenyan Navy who would be known as Wamai. As well as this, she would also secure an agent by the call sign of Denari. But he would remain in a special role, being her hidden enforcer, who she would save for special missions unrelated to the operations of the other Nighthaven agents.
So a personal hitman?
With a large amount of money and a stable contract, Nighthaven were now working alongside Rainbow.
This seems like it's not going to end well.
Callie, Wamai, and Nighthaven's soldiers would now be active in Rainbow's operations. But this wouldn't come without its criticisms, especially by some key operatives such as Ash. Well, with Nighthaven's recruitment and the stadium facility now complete, Harry would initiate his first training tournament. Seeing this as a way for the operators to train together with more synergy by throwing a competitive aspect into it,
that's
Harry
why
would
it was so
introduce
tense
an
with some of the
unorthodox way of training. Not every operative would be on board with this, but Harry had an end goal in mind. The results and analyzation of these tournaments will help Harry determine the future leadership of Rainbow. The operators would utilize a technology developed by the R&D department known as SimSuits. This would allow the pellets shot by the operator's weapons to be accurately received under the operator's armor, relaying realistic damage outputs and shot information to give accurate results from the operator's performance. From Harry's perspective, this first tournament
bro basically built the danger room from X-Men.
He was seeing operator leadership naturally evolving in the field, as well as getting psychological responses to help him further understand his team. A key part of his analysis was when he put Thatcher and Dokkaebi on the same team, where he would see the two operators gain a bit of understanding of each other's perspectives and help grow their bond. Following the conclusion of Harry's first tournament, he would recruit some untraditional operatives to his program. The first would be a man from Jordan under the alias of Oryx. Now, what makes Oryx different from the previous operators is that he has never served in any official organization. No military time, no law enforcement, nothing. Rather, when he was younger, he would be held in
this Wolverine
solitary
built
confinement,
dude.
which, based on the information he has given, seems like it was done unofficially. After being held against his will for 15 years, he would eventually break free, obtaining a new passport and traveling the world, where he would learn skills such as wrestling, tactical driving, and precision marksmanship.
What? How did he just escape at will? We're learning Rainbow Six Siege lore. Holy shit, I didn't know it was this complicated. This is actually crazy. Mind you, Buddy's going at a pretty good pace.
It is only when during one of these travels, he would come across Kaid's great fortress. And after Kaid would take him under his wing, Oryx would evolve from recruit to steward to instructor, and now the unofficial second in command. Although he doesn't come from a traditional military background, Harry trusts the reputation and judgment from Kaid, and Oryx is recruited to the team. The next operative would actually be a recommendation by Mira, a skilled scientist and astronaut by the alias of Ayana, would pioneer topographical mapping software that allows her to project a real-time virtual copy of herself anywhere visible by satellite or drone. This
confused me so bad. I was like, how is she out here? Is she a robot or is that a hologram? Okay.
Advanced technology caught the eye of Mira, who saw her expertise to be a valuable asset to Rainbow's R&D department. Harry, again, trusting the judgment of one of his operatives, would subsequently recruit
That
Ayana.
is insane. She
now,
just
this
built
would
that
give
for
us
fun?
a glimpse into Harry's leadership, trusting the operator's decisions, putting them into decision-making scenarios like with his tournament. He sees that the
Both
future
moving like the
lays with
professor
the
from Money
operators,
Heist.
and he is giving them that breathing room to expand and benefit the team. Although that Harry's program was fully underway and that Rainbow were training and preparing for his next tournament, that doesn't mean that they also weren't partaking in missions. They still had a job to do. One of these missions would take place in Paris, where two GIGN operatives, Twitch and Rook, would be deployed when law enforcement were overwhelmed by two large fires emerging from the downtown area. Having faced a similar situation during Harry's training program, Twitch and Rook suspected the fires had been started in order to distract from a major bank heist across the city. They would confirm this intel, being able to track and confront the robbers, who would begin to fire their weapons at them. One of these bullets would hit Rook in the head, who would be saved by his reinforced helmet. A motorcycle chase would then ensue across Paris, with Twitch and Rook eventually intercepting and stopping the robbers once and for all. This would be just a small glimpse into the many operations that Rainbow were partaking in globally. Meanwhile, Rainbow's relationship with Nighthaven was continuing to expand. Not only were Nighthaven thriving thanks to this contract, Rainbow were also seeing the benefits too, being able to utilize some of Nighthaven's QCR equipment, as well as the expertise of their agents. Nighthaven would also recruit a skilled former Norwegian Armed Forces and Norwegian Home Guard specialist with a heroic search and rescue reputation by the call sign of Ace, who Callie met during a joint UN operation in Somalia, which resulted in him saving her life. With Ace now also involved with the Rainbow contract, Harry would make his own recruitment of an ex-South African National Defense Force specialist, now turned anti-poacher, by the call sign of Melusi. And it is during this period where Rainbow would come in contact with a legendary ally. Samuel Fisher, the first ever operative for the Splinter Cell program, would have his life put at risk after an unknown enemy would force him on the run. As to provide him with
force him on the run? They forced him out of retirement?
Protection, the Global Security Alliance Council would place Sam under the supervision of Rainbow. Sam, who knew of Rainbow's existence, would meet with Rainbow Six himself, Harry. And it is here where Sam would come to the decision that if he is gonna be here, he might as well make himself useful. Harry would appoint Sam to the Rainbow operations staff, where he would be given the call sign of Rainbow Zero. Or
I didn't know it was this much lore. Like, this is crazy.
Sam would step up and take the role as instructor for the operators.
That's so crazy to me, bro. Like, I have vivid memories being a kid. When did the first Splinter Cell game come out? Like, I have vivid memories of just seeing this motherfucker with the 3 green lights all over the place growing up. Damn! And he's actually just in R6 lore.
Passed on the
not even just in the lore, he's like in the game.
Experienced years prior. And thanks to a dosage of Finca's stims to help him keep up with his younger counterparts, Sam would offer training that these operators have never seen before. An unexpected component had now been added to Harry's program. As well as this, Nighthaven would also recruit an ex-detective for the Royal Thai Police who goes by Aruni. Originally starring her
with the
career as a
lethal
private
Bob.
detective, her discovery of a bomb plot in Bangkok caught the attention of the aforementioned police. Her knack for connecting the dots between seemingly unrelated incidents earned her a grudging respect from Thailand's male-dominated law enforcement agencies. But this also came with hostility from numerous criminal syndicates. Aruni's time in the police would end during Operation Jackknife in 2014. In this joint operation between the FBI and the Royal Thai Police, Aruni, alongside the soon-to-be Rainbow operative Thermite, would discover a car bomb in the city. In an attempt to get this away from civilian areas, Aruni would drive the car, whilst Thermite would attempt to defuse the bomb on the back. This would all go wrong when another vehicle would collide with theirs. The bomb would explode, throwing Thermite from the rear of the vehicle.
How did he survive though?
Would be trapped in the cockpit. Thermite would manage to escape with severe burns on his hands, whereas Aruni would lose her left arm, her left leg, and have scarring all over the side of her body. It's when she would later go on to join Nighthaven, where OSA and the QCR department would develop advanced prosthetics for her to use, as well as the integration of the Surya Gate gadget. Aruni would make her way to Greece to join in the operators training, and it is here where her and Thermite would reunite. Thermite feels guilty for what happened to Aruni, but Aruni assures him that it wasn't his fault, and the two of them are good friends. As the two of them would reconnect, Harry would be briefing the team leaders for this.
I'm very confused how she took more damage than he did. He was right on the bomb. That confused the hell out of me when I saw the cinematic. But he was on the bomb trying to defuse it. How did she get cooked more?
With Nighthaven now being involved and Callie being on Ash's team, she raises her concerns. Harry already knows that Ash has a disliking to Callie, and that is one of the driving factors as to why they're on the same team. Vigil also raises his disliking of Mozzie, but it's these very reasons why Harry is doing this. If he can force the operators to push through their dislikings and build stronger relationships, it will benefit the future standing of the team. During this time before the tournament, Nighthaven would invite Fuse to train with them at the stadium. Following this training, Callie would question Fuse as to why he didn't take a shot when Aruni was in his line of fire. Since it's not Rainbow policy, Fuse never done it. But Callie says that that's not how Nighthaven's policy works, and it's only an arena training anyway, sort of showing Nighthaven not really taking Harry's tournament too seriously. And Fuse seems to be in a bit of an agreement with Callie. As they are talking, a Nighthaven shipment arrives at the stadium. She also likes the fact that her agents are spread out on different teams, because a win for one of them is a win for Nighthaven. Each accolade earned by a Nighthaven agent makes the organization more exclusive. More exclusivity means that they can demand a higher rate from their contract. As Callie says, for her, it's all about business. She's there to win to make Nighthaven look more valuable.
She's the one that pisses somebody off by using her teammate as bait, right?
She then shows off what was in this shipment, a brand new suit developed by OSA and Nighthaven's QCR department. This suit offers a number of benefits during combat, with Callie planning to wear it during the tournament. And when Fuse questions her if it's even Rainbow compliant and if she's even allowed to wear it, she kind of just shrugs it off, being like, this is my uniform, and that it's more or less compliant. Again, Callie doesn't really care about the playbook. She's just there to help push the reputation of Nighthaven and further the organization. And she concludes her conversation with Fuse, saying that she's always looking for competent specialists. If he's ever considering a career shift, he knows where to find her. Harry's tournament would once again be underway, and as the teams would progress through his system, it would reach a finale between Team Mira and Team Ash. Now, whether the operators would like to admit it or not, this training was clearly having a positive effect. They were presenting some of their best teamwork and leadership skills, showing a great form of improvement through Harry's program.
Could you imagine this kind of training?
We get to see Thermite and Aruni facing off, playing into that fun dynamic we've seen between the two since their reunion. But the main moment between these two teams is when Ash and Dokkaebi are pinned down. Instead of aiding them from this position, Callie uses them as live bait, resulting in one of the pellets grazing Ash's
I understand why the situation was so tense.
Line of fire, and Dokkaebi would be fully exposed and eliminated. Because of this, Team Ash would win this competition, much to the happiness of Callie. But this was a breaking point for Ash. Callie completely disregarded the playbook, and if that same scenario took place in a real operation, would Callie have done the same with live rounds? An angered Ash would storm into the locker rooms and confront Callie. Sick and tired of Callie and Nighthaven, she punches Callie in the face, causing unrest between the operatives. Meanwhile, Sam and Harry, who were overlooking the match, seem a bit uncertain about the state of the operators. Harry has a look we've not really seen from him before. Has his plan begun to backfire? Can Rainbow and Nighthaven not coexist? Whereas
well, I feel
Sam
like it's good to learn that in training and not on a mission.
Nighthaven's motives. Well, despite this incident, Harry would continue with his plan. He had a third and final tournament he needed to conduct. But what was the reason for him doing this to begin with? Well, his plan, which was unknown to the operators themselves as to not affect the outcome, was to select 4 operators to lead Rainbow going forward. It wouldn't be just the team captains he would be testing, but all of the operators on the teams too. How would they stand up? Would they disagree with their captains? Everything was being monitored. Well, for his next internal tournament, he would assign Ash, Nomad, Kivera, and Callie to be 4 team leaders. Now, if you're going to be a leader for Rainbow, you also have to have
Callie on the same team. Sounds
evil.
evil.
Due to this, he will assign them all a mission to recruit 1 new operative to their teams. Ash would reach out to an old friend known as the Man from Flores. Flores, whose real name is Santiago, grew up in Buenos Aires in Argentina. Despite having a military engineering degree, he would find himself unfulfilled with his work in the public sector and take up a pastime of burglary. But not petty theft of people's homes. Rather, he would rob powerful criminals and groups and help give back to the poor who were affected. A sort of Robin Hood-esque man. He would operate in the Flores district of Buenos Aires, hence his nickname. Well, in 2016, he got in too deep. His identity would be exposed when crime lords would track their stolen money. They learned that not only was it being given back to the community, but it was being used to pay for his mother's hospital bills. In retaliation for this group would murder Flores' mother, and he was forced to give up and flee. Around this time, the FBI, including Ash, had been in Buenos Aires investigating smuggling rings when she happened to come upon Flores. Ash would offer him asylum in the United States in exchange for providing evidence against the town's most ruthless crime lords. Flores would accept this offer and become an FBI informant. He would go on to start a new life in Los Angeles, opening his own food truck as well as meeting his husband. He attributes much of this to Ash and feels like he is in a life debt to her. Ash, joined by Castle and Goyo, would travel to LA to recruit Flores. Now, not only was she recruiting him for her team, but she had an ulterior motive here as well. She was suspicious of Callie, and she wanted Flores to investigate Nighthaven for her and find out if they're up to anything. Though hesitant at first, Harry would give the green light for this recruitment, and he would go on to be quite fond of Flores. Not only does he offer a set of skills when it comes to stealth, his degree in military engineering also benefits the R&D department. Meanwhile, Nomad would also call upon someone from her past as well. This would be a pilot from the Nakota territories of Saskatchewan. Known as Thunderbird, she would first come into contact with Nomad after she would give her medical attention and save her from a black bear, whilst Nomad was exploring the Canadian wilderness.
Oh, she just found her there? I thought they already knew each other.
Who, after joining the Canadian Armed Forces, would work her way through flight school. Remembering her mother's emphasis on the value of balance, felt that if the armed forces taught her how to take lives, then she should also know how to save them. She would complete her basic medical training and continue to serve in the Canadian Armed Forces as an aerial medic. Nomad saw her as a perfect addition to the team, and with Harry's approval, she was recruited. But that didn't come without a scare by Nook, who would take Thunderbird by surprise in her hangar to make sure that she was up to scratch with the Rainbow Standard. Thunderbird would be able to hold her own, with her playfully putting a bandage on Nook's head, which would begin the bond between the two operatives. And as Nook says, "I like Nomad, I trust her, but Rainbow is bigger than War Games. I had to be sure you're up for it." Meanwhile, with Callie, Ash was right to have her suspicions. It seems like Callie was intending to not renew the contract between Rainbow and Nighthaven. But that doesn't mean
That
she
makes
wasn't
sense.
impressed by Rainbow. Callie, who would initiate a plan
King's
to
Hood,
poach
dude?
operatives from Rainbow and give them an offer to Nighthaven, would invite some of the operatives that impressed her to test new equipment at Nighthaven's labs in Singapore. As well as this,
Wow. See, Callie was on bullshit. I knew it.
she would call upon Anya, her QCR lead, going by the call sign now of Osa. She would fly her out to Greece to not only be a part of her team, but also follow through with their plans. And finally, Kavera would travel to Ireland alongside Mozzie and Sledge to recruit a specialist from the Irish Garda known as Thorn. Now, Thorn already had a history with Sledge, and he knew what she was capable of. Being a part of the Garda's elite tactical branch, the Emergency Response Unit. Only 5% of applicants passed the grueling 2-week entrance exam. Not only did she finish top of her class, but would routinely assist other applicants in getting through the training gauntlet.
I'm glad I watched the cinematics first, though.
Tactical weapons expert and would help redesign the units
because I remember these people at
referring
least.
to the former design as a walk in the park. Kavera would
If I
attempt
watched
this
this
very
first, I'd
same
be like,
training
wait, slow
exercise
down.
designed by Thorn, which made her realize that she was a perfect fit for Rainbow. Not only this, when the two would return to Greece, they would use one of their off days to go sightseeing. Well, this is when they would notice some suspicious activity. And it turns out that they would uncover not only a movement of weapons, but stolen artifacts being sold on the black market. Things would begin to escalate, and the pair would eventually chase down this group on horseback. This would result in the getaway car crashing and the suspects apprehended. But Kavera and Thorn would also get arrested in the process. Now, of course, when the higher-ups learned about this, they were able to go free without any question. For reasons the police officers aren't paid enough to know. They then get a bit of a scolding from Sam, who tells him to get back to training. Now we're in the run-up to Harry's third and final tournament. Sam takes this opportunity to interview the 4 new recruits to the program.
Whoa.
That doesn't smell half bad. What's cooking?
It's called perico, meaning parrot.
You're cooking a parrot.
Where's this audio from?
It's a Latin dish. Scrambled eggs, tomatoes, green onions, same colors as the bird. Mama always liked to add a little kick. You want some?
Thanks, but I'm more of a meat and potatoes guy.
You need to expand your horizons. You might like what you try.
Speaking of expanding horizons, how's your new assignment? It must be a big change from knocking out villas
Are
in
there
Long
like
Beach.
in-game audio logs?
Well, it's not so different, to be honest. I get in, I get the job done, then I get out.
You're not worried that approach might be a little too simple against Nomad's team?
Sometimes a plan falls through and you have to get creative, but you need to stay sharp. That's why I came down here. Cooking keeps my hands busy and my mind focused.
Well, they do say breakfast is the most important meal of the day.
Everything is possible on a full stomach. Why are you here, by the way? I thought Harry asked all the questions.
This is off the books, Flores. I know you've been gathering intel on Callie for Ash.
Me, the lowly cook. You won me.
Do me a favor. Over the next few days, I need you to tell me if Nighthaven does anything out of the ordinary.
Like
Yeah,
what?
there's got to be a problem with Nighthaven.
Trust your instincts. You'll know it when you see it.
If you say so, Jefe.
Yeah, bro. Nighthaven's gonna be on some sort of bullshit.
I changed my mind. I'll have some of that parrot.
Eso.
Oh shit, is there deadass audio log for each one? Wait, whoa.
Thought I might find you here.
Well, you got a busted chopper collecting dust out here. You better believe you'd know where to find me. Hand me that torque wrench, would you?
That was one hell of a match. You've come a long way since you joined.
I honestly wasn't sure what to expect when I came here. But that was awesome.
Care to elaborate?
Until today, my favorite sound in the world was a chopper engine firing up. The moan and groan of the blades catching momentum. But my team's voices, cutting through the chaos to coordinate and help each other, that was something else.
I guess we're not used to relying on someone else to get the job done.
W-Coms.
We're never too old to learn new tricks. Take my word for it.
You said it. I'm used to flying solo, you know? It's been a learning experience. I have Nook to thank for bringing me up to speed.
You must have made an impression on her. She's not usually so forthcoming.
It's strange, but I feel like we understand each other.
Well, I didn't even know Nuck's
Forgiveness
gender.
and healing come more easily when you drop the pretense and pleasantries. That
Why would
stunt
there-
in the hangar prepared me for this tournament.
So you're saying you
Wait,
trust her on the field?
why is her
With my
identity
life.
so secret?
Good.
To the
Trust
point
in
where
your comrades. I'll help you face what comes next.
you would think they would just be a ghost at that point. I feel like
Lose
if you're
something?
protecting your identity that crazy, you must not be a ghost because that means
Sneak up on people like that.
Sorry, old habits.
interesting.
Bad habits should be broken, regardless of their age.
That's some keen philosophy. Nighthaven sure knows how to pick 'em. Taking an evening stroll through R&D, I see.
What? Oh, yes, just reviewing the standard equipment. Knowing your gear is half the battle.
So your team's ready for the next match.
Can't say I speak for everyone. Kali's the captain, not me.
Okay. What
Oh,
about you?
Callie's about to do something.
Normally, we train to counter insurgent groups.
I can't tell
that
what
can
level
barely
of
hold an
flux she's
AK.
gonna do though.
Fighting teams of highly trained specialists, it's hard to calculate the outcome. So no, I'm not ready.
But the final match is tomorrow. Kavera's team won't make it easy.
I know. Hence the stroll to Mira's lab. I'm compiling data. I said calculating the outcome was hard, not impossible. I'll be ready tomorrow.
I can see why Callie values you. You never let the cracks show.
What cracks? You know my stuff is bulletproof.
I was asked
Hi,
here
bro.
to aid in the simulation, to observe and report. You want to know what I see in you?
Go ahead.
You're a good soldier, but a lousy liar. If Callie thinks that she can go...
Stop. You don't know us. Say what you want about me, but if you insult her, you'll be observing and reporting my foot up your ass.
Oh, interesting.
Yep, you'll be ready.
Interesting. She's defending Callie that crazily.
Why don't you
Makes
try
sense because
lifting the
she's
heavy
Nighthaven,
ones?
but
Spare me the ball busting, Fisher. Not in the mood. Don't know if you noticed, but we're losing.
You could easily turn it around. What's stopping you?
I'm not giving up. I'm just recalibrating.
Winding up won't do you much good. Maybe you need to relax a bit before getting back out there.
This
yeah,
is
she not trying to.
me relaxing.
Oh, never mind.
You look like you want to rip the roof off a truck.
I just might. Listen, thanks for checking in, but I'd really like to be left alone right now.
I'll be quick. With the changes ahead, I wanted to get your read on Ella and Sophia.
The sisters, yeah? What about them?
They're gonna be a
I don't know.
problem.
Maybe it's just me, but the first half felt like it was personal to them.
Trust
Well-
me, when it comes to siblings, it's always personal.
So you think this is normal?
Yeah, about as normal as throwing 10 of the world's most highly trained soldiers into a pissing contest.
Well-
Top brass prefers to think of it as a heightened combat simulation. But I
It's
get your point.
very heightened, I must say.
I'll say this. I've been training with Sophia. She's focused, serious. This isn't a game to her.
And Ella?
She's not on my team. But I can assume the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. What's it to you?
Probably nothing.
Great. I'll get back to you then. Oh, stay clear of the weights. Wouldn't want you to pull something.
Never change, Skiing.
Interesting. Oh, wait. Why is this the first ad I've gotten? What? That's weird.
After multiple matches and the operators giving their very best, Harry's third and
That's
final
where this came
tournament
from.
would conclude. This
When I
time,
first saw the
however,
cinematic, I
things
didn't
were
think it was a
different.
match.
Things were more personal. This was a boiling point for many of the operators, and a lot of stuff was about to change massively. Not only had Harry now completed his plan, but so had Nighthaven. Callie,
Damn.
alongside the rest of Nighthaven, would break away from Rainbow following the end of this tournament, but they wouldn't be the only ones. Multiple Rainbow operatives would leave the team as well as their orgs
Okay,
and join
so
Nighthaven
I was
in the
right.
private
I was
sector.
like, there's no
now
way this is like
ex-Rainbow
full
operatives
villain
Smoke,
mode,
Finca,
'cause-
IQ, Pulse and Ella would now work as Nighthaven agents. We would get to see the divide between Ella and Zofia through their upbringing, and especially after the death of their father. Not only did this represent the relationship breaking apart between the two sisters, but also mirrored what was happening with Rainbow and Nighthaven. As Zofia would remain loyal to Rainbow, Ella would leave. And each of these operatives would have their own reason for doing this. Not only are Nighthaven a powerful group, but Ella saw this as an opportunity for a fresh start and to distance herself from Zofia. A similar case for Pulse. There was a lot of baggage he had in Rainbow, especially with a previous relationship he had with Hibana. The opportunity to push Seaburn research even further was a massive drawing point for Finca. Her body was beginning to become resilient to the treatment she was having for her neuropathy, a disease she was diagnosed with at the age of 9, which causes a slow degeneration of muscles and the loss of sensations in limbs. Being born after the fallout of the Chernobyl disaster, Finca has been fighting her disease ever since. The opportunity to now lead this unit in Nighthaven with independent private funding was too good for her to turn down. IQ was very impressed by the work of OSA and the QCR department, and saw Nighthaven as an environment where she can thrive. And finally, Smoke always acts in the interest of his daughter, who he would adopt prior to joining Rainbow. He liked the benefits in which Nighthaven were offering, child before joining something like Rainbow is crazy. Daughter the best life she can have. For Callie, her mission was a success. And although Harry would lose numerous operators, his program was now complete. 4 operators have been chosen. That's good though. He weeded out people that wouldn't have stayed anyway. Dividing Rainbow into 4 separate squads, with each having a specialty and having one of these operators as their captain. The first squad is Red Hammer, led by Captain Thermite. Red Hammer is not known for its delicate touch. When they are called in, all bets are off. They tear down anything and eliminate anyone that stands in their way. They are unshakable and unstoppable, best suited for high-risk operations where casualties are all but guaranteed. They bring everything sharp and volatile, inflicting as much damage as necessary before the enemy can retaliate. Captain Jordan Trace and his squad are some of the most resilient individuals, having been evaluated as the most likely to survive dangerous missions through their strength, unquestioning natures, and trust in each other. It's implied that one should not look too closely at what they had to do. The operators in Red Hammer are of course their captain, Thermite, as well as Kaid, Gridlock, Tachanka, Blackbeard, Fuse. I wish they would show the people's pictures instead of these icons. I'm not remembering these icons. Thorn, Goyo, and Amaru. The next squad is the Viper Strike squad. I'm not remembering based on symbols, bro. With a multidisciplinary roster, Viper Strike serves as a versatile unit, suited for any operation. Operating by the book, they guarantee that any task they take on will be done exactly as expected, regardless of the complications. They are the first choice for a mission that needs to be done quickly and cleanly, like surgical precision squad. Captain Yumiko Imigawa heads Viper Strike with dedication and precision, using her years of international experience to keep Rainbow connected and ever expanding. Among most countries' elite military and police forces, her squad is unofficially known as the face of Rainbow, and she carries that weight with confidence. Viper Strike consists of Captain Hibana, as well as Thatcher, Alibi, Nuke, Dokubi, Jaeger, Echo, Jackal, Blitz, Maestro, Mira, and Rook. The third squad is Wolfguard, led by Captain Doc. Described as the world's foremost humanitarian military unit, Wolfguard is known for its compassionate and careful approach. It's a sound choice for high visibility operations that occur in close proximity with civilian populations where collateral damage is not an option. Most of its members are trained in field medicine and specialize in protection of some kind. Captain Gustav Kadeb leads this squad, having good relationships with his subordinates and an immaculate image with world governments and the press. While he and the rest of Wolfguard were brought together to apply their skills in sensitive missions for the good of all, their popularity cannot be overlooked. It will always be a factor for their deployment. Joining Captain Doc are the operatives Lion, Clash, Montagna, Twitch, Nomad, Bandit, Frost, Ying, Castle, Thunderbird, and Malusi. The fourth and final squad is Ghost, led by Captain Kavera. People and information are two of the world's most powerful resources. To obtain leverage or even eliminate them, Rainbow needs a unit specialized in stealth and intelligence. Ghost Eyes
yeah.
operate
I'm
in the
already seeing-
shadows, slipping in where others can't.
I'm
Doing
already
the work
seeing
that requires
which
discretion
people are in
and
this one.
reveals unpleasant truths. Captain Taina Pereira is the prime example of a covert specialist who excels in cooperative context. She's the perfect commanding officer for this squad, who will make good use of her fearless and inquisitive nature. Ghost Eyes is not about loyalty or rigid hierarchy. It's about asking questions, constantly evaluating and re-evaluating, and acting on information that likely hasn't reached top brass yet. Alongside Captain Caveira, Ghost Eyes will consist of Maverick, Vigil, Zofia, Legion, Valkyrie, Glaz, Nook, Warden, Ayana, Mozzie, Flores, and Zero. With this, Sam would now actively be working on the field alongside the operatives and
Zero's
begin to
not
get
the
ready
captain.
to get his hands dirty. Even though the operator still
I'm
look
very
up to him
surprised
for
Zero's not the
guidance,
captain.
he trusts Caveira's leadership and is happy to follow her. With the creation of these 4 squads, Harry's plan was finally complete. Although Nighthaven would now benefit from multiple trained specialists, the 2 sides now no longer had anything to do with each other. And depending on who you ask, this was for better or for worse.
Huh? Depending on who you ask. What you mean by that? The QCR
operators and
mystery.
captains would have some
Okay.
time to settle
Now it's
into
about to get
their new
interesting.
roles. Although Harry is still acting as 6, his squad leaders are working very well in their positions, with the operators now having greater decision-making powers and control. Meanwhile, in Japan, the CEO of Yahata Data Security would go for a stroll through a market alongside his bodyguard, Kana.
Yo,
Now,
I'm
Yahata
loving getting
Data
the
Security
timeline for
would
this.
be a largely successful company, with Rainbow even having accounts registered under them. Well, despite her recommendations, Yahata wanted to take in the atmosphere of this market. He wanted to experience the delicacies they had to offer. This peaceful
Right.
outing would soon go south, when
not
several
gonna lie.
men disguised
If
throughout
you're
the
anybody
market
important,
would
just
begin
going for a
opening
stroll like
fire
this,
on
like,
Yahata. Kana would provide
you're
cover
bugging.
for Yahata, using her range of skills to fight the men off, whilst the others would flee. However, despite her best efforts, a stray bullet would hit Yahata in the chest, and he would die from his injuries.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, bro. Like, just use Instacart or something, bro. Like, come on now. Got your security detail working overtime
Kana,
in
now
this dumbass situation
infuriated
for what?
at not only the failure she believes she has, but the death of her friend, demands answers. She would take one of the bullet casings at the scene and make contact with one of her ex-colleagues in the police force, Hibana. Not necessarily knowing of Rainbow's existence, Azami knew that Hibana moved on to a higher force. And when Hibana would take a look at this bullet casing, she would realize that this was made by Nighthaven's QCR department. Now, this would
See?
immediately draw
Oh,
concern by the
shit.
squad leader. She would call in 2 of her Viper Strike operatives, Thatcher and Jackal, to come to Japan and assist in an investigation.
Oh,
Not only
shit.
is it alarming that Nighthaven may be involved in assassinations, but ex-Rainbow operatives now work with them too.
Bro, she
Rainbow
looks
know
so
how
tough.
protective Osa and Nighthaven are of their gear, so it's very unlikely that this was just ordnance that they sold. Yahata's death would have a profound effect on Kana, and she would refuse to go by her real name until she got revenge. She would don the mantle of Azami, the Japanese name for the thistle. The market, which
whoa, there's a manga? This R6 shit runs deep. What do you mean?
was now a cordoned off crime scene by the police, would be the rendezvous point where Azami and Hibana would meet up with Jackal and Thatcher. The area would
Okay.
already be cleared by the police, but Jackal would use his Inox scanner to track 2 assailants that escaped, one of them being badly wounded. Viper Strike, joined by Azami, would follow Jackal's lead, in which they would come across an old factory. Jackal and
But this
Thatcher
art style
would
is
throw
so
around
sick.
some friendly banter, with Thatcher referring to Smoke, who is now a Nighthaven agent, as a backstabbing shite. Jackal's intel would be correct, and the last 2 assailants would be camping out in this warehouse. After disabling the lights with his EMPs, Thatcher would be able to take one of them by surprise and hold him at knife point. Azami would then begin to interrogate the man alongside Thatcher. It is where this man says, "We got an encrypted message for an assassination job. When we saw the target was Yahata, we thought it was a joke.
And then you
But
still
then we
did
got a
it?
crate. And what, my good man, was in this crate?" asks Thatcher. Weapons, intel on Yahata's movements, and
That's too
money.
obvious,
Lots of money. Jackal would be able
Surely
to take
Nighthaven
down this
isn't that
other man
dumb.
who was by this crate previously mentioned. This man continues from what the first man said, saying, "After we came back here, we got another message." "What did it say?" says Jackal. "To stay put," the man replies. Just then, a large attack helicopter begins to open fire on the
just a
warehouse.
setup.
The operators had been led directly into a trap. Azami would be able to provide the team with some cover, and as the operators would escape, so would the helicopter.
But there's no
Habana
way
would
it's actually
say
Night
if
Haven. I
they're
feel like
working
they'd
for
be...
Night Haven, they just declared a war. Following this mission, Habana would recruit Azami into Viper Strike, having the power
This sounds
to
like
do
a setup
so
to get them to
being
go
a
against
squad
each other, because
leader.
Night
Viper
Haven
Strike
wouldn't be
would then
dumb
relay
enough to
this
leave their
information to
casings
the
like
rest
that
of Rainbow.
with
They
some
would
randoms
initiate a full investigation
who they
of
knew would
Night
get
Haven.
caught.
Whoever perpetrated this seemed to know the operators well and knew how they would handle this situation. Harry would begin to do his own investigation of the matter, whilst the operators
Deimos, right?
would take charge.
It's gotta be.
Rainbow would devise a plan
Deimos
to
trying to
infiltrate
cause a
Night
war
Haven's
between them and Night
headquarters
Haven.
in Singapore. Intel would suggest that the architect who designed Night Haven's base would get caught up with the wrong crowd and be held against his will by a militia. Wolfguard would be called upon to extract his architect, which Rainbow will then use to gain info about Night Haven's facility. Wolfguard would take control here as to prioritize the safety of the architect. Doc would use this as an opportunity to deploy his newest recruit, a Belgian Special Forces operative by the codename of Sense. Doc was impressed by their reputation of minimizing casualties without compromising objectives. He saw Sense as a perfect fit for Wolfguard, and alongside Monty and Lion on the field, with Doc and Twitch providing intel from a nearby vehicle, the trio would enter this facility where the architect was being held. The
So much
operators
of the
would
lore
work
takes
in
place
tandem,
in these
using
2D,
their gadgets, skills, and teamwork
animated
to
ones,
prioritize
but they're
the
done so
safety of
well,
the
bro.
hostage and the clean execution of these militia members. This would be an important time for Lion as well. Operating under the leadership of Doc, someone that he bashed heads with even before their time in Rainbow, the two would begin to become more understanding of each other, something which is again a product of Harry's leadership. Maybe every operator
Harry was
didn't
just the
see it
fucking
right
goat,
away,
I
but
guess.
he knew them more than some of them even knew themselves. Wolfguard would return to their HQ alongside the architect.
This guy's
Whilst
legit
they would
moving like
treat him for
the
his
professor.
injuries, Doc and Ying would brief the team on the current intel they had, after the architect would provide them with the blueprints to Night Haven's HQ. As Ying would say, they keep everything secure on a private server, including QCR inventory. With that intel, we could connect them to the equipment that was used to kill Yahata.
But like, it's too
the server
obvious, bro.
can't
Why
be
would
hacked
Night even
externally.
want to
We
get
have
caught
to
with
be
their
on
casings
site
out
to
like
download
that?
the
Why would they
server
give it
data.
to like
Even
amateurs?
with the architect's credentials to enter the building, we're walking into the lion's den. This needs to be done quietly. And
Yeah, I'm
that's
not
not our
buying it, bro.
expertise,
It's Deimos.
says Doc. Kavera's team is currently deployed in South America, but a few of her operatives are on their way to Singapore to take over this leg of the mission. For now, Wolfguard's work is done. So this mission would be handed over to Ghost Eyes for infiltration. However, Sense has
this is what they're dealing with when Deimos pulls up on Harry, right? Isn't this what the whole team is like? Isn't this the mission that they're on when he pulls
an
up?
issue with
We'll
this,
see.
claiming that the well-being of the architect is still in their hands, and that they should also be sent along in this mission to protect the architect. They go no further than the entrance of the base, and that is where Ghost Eyes will take over. Doc will agree with Sense and send them on this mission as well. Sense, alongside one of Kavera's operatives, will disguise themselves as Night Haven soldiers and enter the base undercover. They guide the architect to the main entrance, where they will use his credentials to enter the building. That is, until they are intercepted by Ace and Pulse. He begins to question why the architect is here. The work on the next sector doesn't start until next month. The architect would play this off, saying that blasting materials for demo needed recalibration, and this was Callie's orders.
Something's not right.
Ace was going to call this into Callie, but that is when the architect intercepted, saying that he could look into that recreational area he suggested, which would be a volleyball court. This seems to be an addition to the base that Callie wasn't necessarily wanting.
See, this
so
stuff I
Ace
would
was
have
happy
never
to have
known from the
architect
cinematic.
listen to his
This is
idea, and this would help diffuse the tension as Ace and Pulse would go on their way.
I'm still not
the
buying
team
that
would make their
Callie's
way
that
down
dumb.
to a
There's no
side
way.
entrance, where they would discover that the architect's credentials had been revoked. As they were planning a new way to break in, a Night Haven soldier would spot them and question them as to why they're patrolling this sector. The Ghost Eyes operative would swiftly take this soldier down, and before they can shoot this soldier, Sense intervenes, saying that they don't know if Night Haven's the enemy yet. Even if he wakes up, it's better than a dead man with their names on it.
Oh my god, thank God. Thank God, because that's what I was thinking. Then all hell would break loose. They need to figure out for sure that Night Haven's doing this shit. I like the way that guy thinks. because I'm not convinced. Okay, I need to pee real quick. And I low-key need to get more coffee. I'm gonna be up for a while, reacting and or editing. I don't know. I might even just check another thing off my list tonight. Who knows, bro? Who knows? Make sure to wash your hands. I won't. If you need a bathroom break, now's your time. Go get you a snack. Go get you some water. I'll be right back.